It is the 88th minute. Sweden are winning 3-2 against Poland. The entire nation is holding its breath. 1 goal for Poland and it is all over. 1 defensive mistake and Sweden go home. But then Viktor Gyökeres receives the ball and in that single moment, everything changes. He scores, he rips his shirt off, he runs, he screams. And in that instant, Sweden are going to the 2026 World Cup for the first time since 2018. The whole stadium explodes. The Arsenal striker grabs a megaphone and turns to face the travelling fans. This is not just a football moment. This is the moment that could define Viktor Gyökeres' entire season. And here is what makes this international break so fascinating for every Arsenal supporter watching right now. While Mikel Arteta was back in London managing what has been described as a very difficult international window, the players he sent out into the world were sending back the most powerful message imaginable. They were in form, they were hungry, they were ready. This is Melissa, Arsenal analyst. And today we are breaking down everything that happened during this international break, story by story, player by player, moment by moment, from Viktor Gyökeres sending Sweden to the World Cup to Miles Lewis-Skelly and Ethan Nwaneri putting on a masterclass for England under-21s, to Max Dowman doing something so extraordinary that Piers Morgan could not stay silent. And we will also cover the injury picture, the squad news and what this all means for Arsenal's run-in. Let us get into it. Before we go any deeper, let me remind you what was at risk coming into this break. Arsenal had just suffered heartbreak in the Carabao Cup final. Multiple players had withdrawn from international duty. Injury reports were flying in every direction. Sections of the fan base were beginning to panic. And the question being asked everywhere was simple. Would the players come back from this break fit, focused and ready to push for the Premier League title? The situation was fragile. The timing was difficult. And yet, almost without exception, the Arsenal players who did represent their nations used this window to remind the world exactly why they are at one of the biggest clubs in football. If you want deeper analysis on stories like this, breaking down what really matters for Arsenal beyond the noise, then hit that subscribe button right now. Melissa, Arsenal analyst, is here to give you the full picture every single time. Viktor Gyökeres and the World Cup journey. Let us start where we have to start. Viktor Gyökeres. The first thing to understand is the context behind his performances this week. Sweden came into these World Cup playoffs having endured a nightmare qualifying campaign. They failed to win a single game in their group. They finished at the bottom. The only reason they were even in the playoffs was because their Nations League position gave them a lifeline. This was a team that many people had written off entirely. And then Thursday evening arrived. Sweden faced Ukraine in the semi-final. Gyökeres scored a hat-trick. Sweden won 3-1. His SofaScore rating for that match was 9.2. Think about that number for a moment, 9.2. That is the kind of rating you associate with performances that define careers. Sweden head coach Graham Potter, who was appointed in October of last year after leaving his previous role, spoke after the match and said that Gyökeres' performance was, and I am reading this directly, incredible. He went further, saying that outside of the goals themselves, the hold-up play and the defensive responsibility Gyökeres showed were part of something truly remarkable. Now, here is where the story gets genuinely fascinating. Graham Potter is the man who was at Brighton when Gyökeres was there. During the 2 of his 3.5 years at Brighton that overlapped with Potter's time as manager, Gyökeres never made a single Premier League appearance, not one. He was loaned out 3 times. He was essentially told, "You are not ready for this level." So when you hear Potter describe this performance as incredible, you have to appreciate the full weight of that word. These are 2 men who have both travelled an extraordinary journey since their Brighton days, and now they have arrived at the same destination, the 2026 World Cup. After the hat-trick, Gyökeres was asked if anything could top what he had just done. His answer was direct. He said, "Right now, no, but it could be even better on Tuesday." And then Tuesday came. Sweden versus Poland, a place at the World Cup on the line. The match statistics tell part of the story. Poland had 67% possession. Sweden had only 33. Poland had 15 shots compared to Sweden's 10. By every number on paper, Poland were the dominant side. But football is not played on paper. In the 88th minute, Viktor Gyökeres scored the winning goal. Sweden 3, Poland 2. It is now confirmed. Sweden are going to the World Cup this summer in Canada, Mexico and the United States. His stats from the Poland match read as follows. 1 goal from 1 total shot, 1 shot on target. He was fouled twice. He completed 1 successful dribble from 1 attempt. He had 23 touches, 7 carries and covered 64.2 metres in total carrying distance. His SofaScore rating for that match was 7.3, and the most important detail of all, on SofaScore, Viktor Gyökeres is now listed under Arsenal Football Club. The evidence is clear. This is not a player going through a rough patch. This is not a player who joined Arsenal and lost his identity. This is a player who has 4 goals across 2 World Cup playoff matches, who is the only player to score more than 2 goals in the UEFA World Cup playoffs across the entire last week, and who is one of only 3 players to score in both matches of those playoffs. He has 15 goal contributions in 22 appearances across club and country in 2026 alone. For Arsenal supporters who are beginning to worry about Gyökeres' debut season in England, this international break should serve as a reset. His confidence will be at the highest possible level coming back into the squad. And with Arsenal 9 points clear at the top of the Premier League, with Champions League and FA Cup quarter-finals still to come, having a striker in this kind of form is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Gyökeres himself said before the Poland match, "I dream about the World Cup. The whole squad does. It is the competition everyone dreams of playing in. That dream is now a reality." And the question now for Arsenal fans is whether that same hunger and emotion translates back to club football over the coming weeks. Given what we have seen, there is no reason to believe it will not. My LS Lewis Skelly and the England Under-21 Masterclass. Now, let us shift to the Arsenal Academy and to a story that is generating enormous debate right now. Miles Lewis Skelly, England Under-21s, faced Moldova Under-21s. And from the very first minute of that match, Lewis Skelly was a man on a mission. Reports from the match noted that in the opening 12 minutes alone, Lewis Skelly had already had 4 shots from left-back. 4 shots in 12 minutes. From a defender, that tells you everything about the kind of aggressive, forward-thinking game he was playing. His third shot deflected into the path of Ethan Nwaneri to put England 1 goal up. That single action set the tone for what became a 4-1 victory. His first half statistics were highlighted specifically: 13 carries, 4 ball recoveries, and an 85% passing accuracy. For a left-back playing at that intensity, those are outstanding numbers. His full match statistics paint an even more complete picture. A SofaScore rating of 8.2, 2 assists across the match. A big chance created for Nwaneri. On the defensive side, 3 defensive contributions, 1 interception, 1 clearance, 1 block shot, 4 recoveries and 9 ground duels engaged, with 4 of them won. Was also not dribbled past a single time. Journalist Adam Keyes made the point clearly after the match. He said Arsenal need this player fit, firing and confident. He noted that the skill set Lewis Skelly brings does not exist elsewhere in the squad. He used the phrase "inspired sense of adventure" to describe what Lewis Skelly adds. And he called for trust from Arteta when Lewis Skelly returns to the club. That word, trust, is the key word. Because alongside the praise for his performance, there is a very serious conversation happening about his future at Arsenal. And it is important to address it directly. TalkSport's Adrian Durham has made a controversial argument. He says Lewis Skelly should leave Arsenal as soon as possible. His reasoning is that Lewis Skelly is currently third-choice left-back at the club, with Piero Hincapié and Riccardo Calafiori ahead of him. Durham also points out that Lewis Skelly was originally a midfielder in the youth team who reached a Youth Cup final in midfield, and that the path to the first team in his natural position is even more crowded given the presence of Martin Zubimendi, Declan Rice and Mikel Merino. Now, it is worth separating the facts from the opinion here. The fact is that Lewis Skelly is currently behind 2 players at left-back. That is confirmed. The argument that he should leave is Durham's personal position and his alone. What is clear from the evidence of this international break is that Lewis Skelly's quality is not in question. His performances prove he belongs at the highest level. The question of game time and development path at Arsenal is a separate debate, but the performances themselves have settled any doubt about his ability. AFTV specifically highlighted that Lewis Skelly keeps impressing whenever he gets his chance to play, and posed the direct question of whether he should be given more minutes when he returns after the break. The fan base is engaged on this topic, and after a performance like the one against Moldova, it is a question that deserves a serious answer. Ethan Nwaneri and the man of the match Disfi alongside Lewis Skelly. Ethan Nwaneri was equally brilliant for England Under-21s against Moldova. Nwaneri is 19 years old. He scored 2 goals. He was named man of the match. His SofaScore rating was 8.4. His shot statistics read as follows: 2 goals from 7 total shots, 3 of which were on target, 3 were blocked, and he missed 2 big chances. His goals were both left-footed and both assisted. His wider match statistics include 4 out of 5 ground duels won, 100% success on long balls and 100% success on take-ons, with 3 from 3 completed. Three ball recoveries as well. Arsenal radar confirmed the full picture of the match. Nwaneri opened the scoring with a close-range finish after Lewis Skelly's initial effort was saved. The second goal came in the second half after a Lewis Skelly backheel set him up brilliant. The two Arsenal Academy products were, according to the report, central to England's attacking play throughout the entire match. England under-21s remain top of Group D in their European Championship qualifying campaign. Now, here is something worth noting that connects directly to Nwaneri's development. England under-21 head coach Lee Carsley was asked about Nwaneri's loan move to Marseille in France. Carsley described it as a brilliant decision. He said France and Germany are now really good learning environments for young players. He noted that players who have gone abroad in the past have thrived and that the more experiences young players can gain, the more it ultimately benefits the senior national team. This is important context. Nwaneri is not at Arsenal right now in the traditional sense. He is on loan at Marseille, getting consistent high-level football in one of Europe's biggest leagues. And every performance he puts in for England under-21s is evidence that the decision to loan him out is working exactly as intended. The graphic circulating after the match, celebrating Arsenal's Hale End Academy, told the full story in 3 ratings. Max Dowman, 9.1, Ethan Nwaneri, 8.4, Miles Lewis Skelly, 8.2, 1 international break. 3 academy products, 3 outstanding performances at 3 different levels of the game. That is a foundation that Arsenal are building something serious on. Max Dowman and the solo goal that stopped the world. Let us now talk about Max Dowman, because what this 16-year-old did for England under-19s against Portugal was not just a good goal. It was the kind of moment that gets played on highlight reels for years. England under-19s faced Portugal in a under-19 Euros qualifier. They won 6-0. Dominant from start to finish, Dowman was involved in the very first goal, finding Jesse Derry with a fine run, and Derry netted inside the opening 4 minutes. But the goal that has captured the world's attention came early in the second half. Dowman received the ball in his own half. He ran down the right flank with pace and purpose. He steered centrally. The Portugal defence did very little to stop him, and he found the bottom corner with a low finish. The run started from his own half. He beat 3 players on the way. The finish was composed and precise. The reaction on social media was immediate and intense. One fan wrote that Dowman is the future Ballon d'Or winner, saying after Declan Rice he will be the next to win it. Another compared the goal directly to Lionel Messi. A third said this is just the beginning of greatness. Piers Morgan reacted to the clip directly, writing that Dowman is a genius and that he should have been playing at Wembley in the Carabao Cup final a week earlier, and that he should have been in that squad for Arsenal. Now, let us put Dowman's season into context, using only the facts available. He made his senior Arsenal debut off the bench in their 5-0 Premier League win over Leeds United in August, during which he picked up an assist. He is also featured in the Champions League, the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup this season. And earlier this month, he became the youngest ever goal scorer in the Premier League history when he netted in Arsenal's 2-0 win against Everton. He is 16 years old. He holds a Premier League record, and he is now the subject of discussions about a wildcard spot in the full England squad for the World Cup this summer. His SofaScore rating for the Portugal match was 9.1. That is the highest individual rating of any Arsenal-connected player from this entire international window. The debate around Dowman's future is live and significant. Adrian Durham at talkSPORT has argued directly that Dowman should leave Arsenal as soon as possible. Durham's argument mirrors what he says about Lewis Skelly. He believes that Arteta's environment limits development opportunities. He points to the midfield being crowded. He points to positions being blocked. And he warns that Dowman could see his career stall if he stays in North London without guaranteed minutes. That is one perspective. The facts show that Dowman is already getting Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup and Carabao Cup minutes at 16. How many 16-year-olds anywhere in European football can say the same? The reality is that his trajectory at Arsenal is unlike almost anything we have seen from an academy player in years. And his performance in Portugal only reinforces that. Christian Mosquera and Kai Havertz, 2 more Arsenal players, deserve specific attention from this window. First, Christian Mosquera, the 21-year-old who represented Spain against Egypt. His statistics from that match were extraordinary for a centre-back or full-back. 98% pass accuracy, 101 passes completed, 100% on successful long balls, winning both of his 2 attempts, 100% on aerial duels, winning both attempts, 100% on ground duels, winning his 1 attempt, 3 ball recoveries and 9 progressive carries. His SofaScore rating was 8.0. The description used was solid as a rock. For a young defender at international level for one of the best national sides in the world, those are elite numbers. Second, Kai Havertz, Germany's number, scored his 21st international goal, playing out of position on the right flank. German media specifically praised his composure and influence in that match. He was described as a live wire through whom almost every German attack flowed. That description, almost every attack, is not a minor compliment. It reflects the kind of central importance that Havertz has grown into at international level. The situation coming into the break was uncertain for Havertz following some inconsistent club form. What he produced for Germany was a timely reminder of his capabilities, the injury picture and what it means for Arsenal's run-in. Now let us address the issue that has created the most noise around Arsenal during this international break. The injuries, the withdrawals, the speculation. The reality is now clear. Arsenal are not responsible for players withdrawing from international duty. Decisions are made by the respective national team's medical and coaching staff, not by the club. Clubs provide updates. Nations make the final call. That is standard protocol. But beyond the official statement, Rio Ferdinand spoke on YouTube and provided a more direct explanation of what happened. Ferdinand said Arteta told players they would be fined if they played international friendlies. He said fans should not worry about the injury reports, and he stated that nearly all players would be available for selection when the break ends, bar one or two. Ferdinand compared Arteta's approach directly to Sir Alex Ferguson's method of protecting players during critical title run moments. His view was that Arteta told the squad, in essence, that this is our priority. We need to win the league and we need your energy. That is a significant statement, and the context makes it credible. Arsenal are 9 points clear at the top of the Premier League. They are in the quarter-finals of the Champions League and the FA Cup, with a squad that was already managing several injury concerns. Protecting players from non-competitive international matches makes complete strategic sense. On specific injury updates, Martin Odegaard is now likely to be involved in the matchday squad for Arsenal's FA Cup quarter-final against Southampton this weekend. That is good news. His return to the squad at this stage of the season is exactly what Arsenal need as they prepare for one of their most demanding periods in recent memory. Eberechi Eze is still in rehabilitation for a lower leg injury. However, there is cautious optimism that he could return earlier than the original expected timeline. No firm date has been set, but the direction of travel is positive. Noni Madueke is reported to be likely back in time for the match against Sporting. Journalist Adam Keyes made a careful point on this, urging fans to stop jumping to conclusions on injury timelines. His view was that injury recovery can move faster or slower than expected, and that scaremongering helps nobody. His conclusion was simple. Madueke's potential return is a big boost for Arsenal. Arsenal players at the 2026 World Cup. Let us close the analysis with something that every Arsenal fan should take a moment to appreciate. The list of Arsenal players who have now qualified for the 2026 World Cup is remarkable. Jurrien Timber with the Netherlands, Leandro Trossard with Belgium, Kai Havertz with Germany, William Saliba with France, Viktor Gyökeres with Sweden, Martin Odegaard with Norway, Piero Hincapié with Ecuador, Gabriel Magalhaes and Gabriel Martinelli with Brazil, David Raya, Christian Mosquera, Mikel Merino and Martin Zubimendi with Spain, Bukayo Saka, Noni Madueke, Eberechi Eze, Declan Rice and Ben White with England. That is an extraordinary list. Players from across Europe and South America, multiple continents, multiple generations of talent, all at one club, all heading to the World Cup this summer. On the other side, it is confirmed that Riccardo Calafiori missed out with Italy. Italy played 120 minutes in their playoff against Bosnia-Herzegovina. They lost in a penalty shootout. Calafiori played the full 120 minutes and could not prevent Italy from failing to qualify. That is a significant blow for him personally, and it means that one of Arsenal's senior defenders will not be at the World Cup this summer. Christian Norgard with Denmark also missed out, confirming that the qualification picture at Arsenal is not without its disappointments. But the overwhelming story is one of abundance. Arsenal are sending players to the World Cup from nearly every major footballing nation on earth. And every one of those players will have the experience of a World Cup summer before returning to push for the title and trophies in the seasons ahead. Let me bring all of this together. This international break arrived at a difficult moment for Arsenal. The Carabao Cup final defeat was fresh. Injury concerns were circulating. The noise around the club was getting louder. And yet, look at what happened. Viktor Gyökeres scored 4 goals in 2 matches and sent Sweden to the World Cup. His confidence will be at a peak level. His partnership with Potter in the national team has rekindled something important inside him, and that energy comes straight back to Arsenal. Miles Lewis-Skelly reminded the football world that his quality is beyond debate. 2 assists, a dominant defensive display, an 8.2 rating. The debate around his minutes at Arsenal is valid, but the player himself is answering every question on the pitch. Ethan Nwaneri scored twice, was named man of the match, and his loan at Marseille is delivering exactly what it was supposed to deliver. Lee Carsley himself confirmed it publicly. Max Dowman scored one of the goals of the international window at 16 years old for England under-19s and is now being spoken about in the most extraordinary terms. A Ballon d'Or comparison, a World Cup wildcard suggestion, the youngest ever Premier League goal scorer. This player is not a story about what might happen. He is a story about what is already happening. Christian Mosquera was elite for Spain with a 98% pass accuracy. Kai Havertz scored his 21st international goal and was central to everything Germany did. The injury situation, while always a concern at this stage of the season, is looking more manageable than it appeared at the start of the break. Odegaard is likely for Southampton. Madueke is targeting a return for Sporting. Eze has reasons for optimism. And Rio Ferdinand's account of Arteta protecting his key players from unnecessary friendlies reflects the kind of disciplined management that title-winning teams require. The evidence from this international break points in one clear direction. Arsenal are not a team falling apart. They are a team that is protecting itself, sharpening itself, and preparing for the most important stretch of games in recent memory. The players have done their part this week. Now the question is whether the club can deliver when they return. This is Melissa, Arsenal analyst. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If this kind of analysis matters to you, subscribe to the channel right now because this is only going to get deeper from here. The run-in is coming and we will be here for every single moment of it.